Chapter 391. 1 hour later, Songwon emerged from his cave dwelling. Looking at the desolate and broken scenery on the island, he felt a lingering fear: broken tree trunks, withered leaves, the bodies of sea fish. The air was thick with a damp, salty, and decayed odor. This left Songwon, the instigator, feeling suffocated and oppressed. Just the waves stirred up by the fishtail had such power. How strong must the giant fish be? How many powerful sea beasts were lurking in this deep sea? At this moment, the hint of ambition he felt from breaking through to the golden core faded away. Songwon entered seclusion once more for intense cultivation. He had now advanced to the golden core realm, achieving a qualitative leap in his cultivation. The techniques that had once been easy for him now seemed somewhat weak and urgently needed strengthening. There were many techniques Songwon could enhance, and he chose to refine 3 types of spiritual flames. First, the majestic jade light flame, the sinister and chilling cold fire of the underworld corpse, the earth core refining flame used for alchemy. After advancing to the golden core, he could refine the spiritual flames of heaven and earth and nurture them within his dantian. With the rich magical power of the golden core, he could strengthen the spiritual flames. The true fire power of the spiritual flames could also nourish the cultivator, tempering their magical power to be more refined and condensed. The two complemented each other perfectly. Songwon first refined the earth core refining flame, followed by the jade light flame, and lastly the cold fire of the underworld corpse. The refinement of the first 2 went quite smoothly, however. After refining the cold fire of the underworld corpse and preparing to absorb it into his dantian, the cold fire of the underworld corpse and the jade light flame experienced a violent repulsion. Both flames surged wildly, trying to turn the dantian into their own territory. As the 2 inflating flames were about to collide in the dantian, Songwon hurriedly expelled both of them from his body, one cold and one hot, one righteous and one evil. If these 2 types of spiritual flames collided in the dantian, Songwon did not dare to imagine what kind of violent energy would erupt and what impact it would have on the dantian. With the 2 spiritual flames appearing before him, they became docile, floating in midair and quietly dancing. Songwon frowned, finding it difficult to choose for a moment. Both types of spiritual flames were extremely important to him, and he didn't want to give up either one. The magical power cultivated through the Corpse King rebirth technique possessed characteristics of both life and death, giving Songwon a dual aspect of vibrant life and overwhelming corpse chi. The jade light flame and the cold fire of the underworld corpse corresponded perfectly with this. The jade light flame could be used to nourish the vitality of the physical body and also to refine some righteous treasures. The cold fire of the underworld corpse could assist in refining corpse-based spiritual materials and could be used to create corpse puppets, ghosts, and various sinister treasures. After pondering for a moment, Songwon suddenly remembered that in the Supreme Fire Control True Secret, there was a method called fusion of flames which might solve his current dilemma. The so-called fusion of flames involved merging 2 or more types of spiritual flames into a new type of spiritual flame. The flames that fused together generally had similar characteristics. Through mutual integration, their properties could become even more powerful, and they might even give rise to new abilities. However, the jade light flame and the cold fire of the underworld corpse had completely opposite characteristics, and merging them might produce some unexpected changes. After some contemplation, Songwon decided to take the risk and give it a try. Both types of spiritual flames had been refined by Songwon, allowing him to control them with ease. Under Songwon's command, the platinum-colored jade light flame and the ghastly green cold fire of the underworld corpse slowly drew closer. As soon as the 2 made contact, a loud explosion abruptly sounded. A surge of incredibly violent power erupted, like a runaway wild horse, completely beyond Songwon's control. Songwon quickly conjured a magical shield to avoid being injured by this force. He did not dare to recklessly force the fusion of the flames and hurriedly separated the 2 spiritual flames. However, Songwon did not give up at this point. Even when fusing flames of the same attribute, it is often challenging to achieve a smooth outcome, usually requiring some medium to connect them. The medium for flame fusion is typically some special atmospheric essence. Songwon had quite a few of these spiritual materials on him. The infin dew condensed from corpse chi, the dense ghostly aura from the treasure's mourning flags, and the 10,000-year spirit liquid all belong to this category of spiritual materials. With a thought, a jade bottle appeared in midair, thick corpse chi seeped out from the jade bottle. Song Wen directed the Yin Fin Du toward the two spiritual flames. Under Song Wen's deliberate suppression, the cold fire of the underworld corpse was easily enveloped by the Yin Fin Du. However, when faced with the jade light flame, the Yin Fin Du was immediately consumed by the vast righteous energy emitted by the jade light flame, turning into nothingness. Song Wen's expression turned somewhat grim. He then tried the 10,000-year spirit liquid, but when the two types of spiritual flames came into contact with it, they both seemed to have ingested a tremendous tonic and immediately burned fiercely, making fusion impossible. Song Wen paced back and forth in his cave dwelling for a long time. Suddenly, two balls of thunder light appeared in his hands. The thunder light shot out, sweeping toward the two spiritual flames. To Song Wen's surprise, under his control, the two spiritual flames gradually became entwined with the thunder light. The two flames, surrounded by silver light, began to draw closer and make contact. This time, no violent energy erupted. However, they still repelled each other. As Song Wen continuously executed the fire control technique, they began to compress, and the repelling force grew stronger. The thunder light entwined around the two flames seemed unable to withstand this powerful repelling force and suddenly collapsed. Without the constraint of the thunder power, the two flames instantly rebounded, and a wave of violent energy swept out. Prepared, Song Wen used the profound Earth Treasure Pagoda to block the impact of the energy. It seems ordinary lightning is insufficient to restrain the spiritual flames. I need to use stronger lightning. Previously, he had used the Thunder Palm. Song Wen had many thunder techniques more powerful than the Thunder Palm. Among them, the strongest was undoubtedly the 9 Great Thunder Techniques of the Lei family and of the 9 Great Thunder Techniques. The most powerful thunder technique that Song Wen could currently utilize was the third celestial thunder, the Yushu Heavenly Thunder. However, although Song Wen possessed the cultivation method for the Yushu Heavenly Thunder, he had not yet cultivated it. Thinking of this, Song Wen focused intently and began to cultivate the Yushu Heavenly Thunder. With Song Wen's talent for thunder techniques, he was able to cultivate the much-desired third celestial thunder in just half a year. Song Wen gestured to execute the thunder technique. A thick black cloud appeared above his head. Within the black cloud, silver bolts of lightning flickered and gradually converged to form a silver python the thickness of a bowl. The silver python continually traversed within the dark cloud, solid yet ungrounded. Upon closer inspection, one could see the silver python carrying a faint purple sheen. This was a sign that the thunderous power had reached a significant level. The lightning condensed from the Yushu Heavenly Thunder, while seemingly thinner than the Great Cave Divine Thunder previously executed by Song Wen, contained at least 10 times the might. Chapter 392. The jade light flame and the cold fire of the underworld corpse flew into the dark clouds. Gradually, both flames were coated with a layer of thunder light. Song Wen activated his fire control technique, and the two spiritual flames within the dark clouds slowly drew closer. Then, they suddenly collided. The thunder light flickered within the cloud, but no energy burst forth. Song Wen repeatedly executed the fire control technique, gradually compressing and bringing the two flames together. The flames repelled each other, yet they were firmly held in place by the Yushu Divine Thunder. Boom! A dull rumble resonated. Brilliant flames surged within the dark clouds. After a moment, the flames converged, and the dark clouds dispersed. A palm-sized emerald green firebird emerged. Song Wen raised his hand and summoned the firebird, which landed in his palm. He felt no scorching heat or bone-chilling cold from the firebird, yet he could sense the violent energy emanating from it. The emerald green firebird seemed to have merged with the lightning power of the Yushu Divine Thunder, with silver lightning occasionally coursing through its body. With a thought, the firebird burst forth with a vast righteous energy, a trait imparted by the jade light flame, imposing and intense in an instant. The firebird's aura shifted to become cold and piercing, a result of the cold fire of the underworld corpses. Attributes cold and sinister. Song Wen opened his mouth and drew the firebird into his dantian. The firebird circled within the golden dantian, flying gracefully. The golden dantian gleamed, and the firebird moved like a fiery phoenix chasing the sun from his storage ring. Song Wen took out a long knife. The long knife, named Mystic Frost, was obtained from the Taoist Qingyan and was a low-grade magical treasure. Song Wen spent a month refining the Mystic Frost knife. then ingested it into his dantian to slowly nurture it. He also retrieved a morning banner, which he received from Wu Ren. It was likewise a low-grade magical treasure. Moreover, it contained a vast amount of ghostly aura, suitable for nurturing ghostly beings. Song Wen had possessed this treasure for decades but had never managed to refine it, and the ghostly energy within it had not been stirred. After another month, Song Wen successfully refined the morning banner. Subsequently, Song Wen took out over a dozen ghostly spirit tools. These included the 8-flag Een Soul banner he had crafted himself, the top-grade ghost banner acquired from the Su family, the top-grade spirit tool prayer beads from Jiehui, and many other spirit tools plundered from unknown ghost cultivators. Song Wen summoned the emerald green firebird. The firebird suddenly flared up, a blazing green flame rising dramatically. The 8-flag Een Soul banner was only a low-grade spirit tool, and Song Wen intended to remanufacture it. The Een Soul banner originated from the demonic sect, the profound Een sect, and could continuously strengthen, even potentially being refined into a personal magical treasure. Though Song Wen temporarily had no intention of refining the Een Soul banner into a personal magical treasure, he could refine it into a magical treasure-level Een Soul banner. Under the scorching green flames, numerous spirit tools gradually fused into one, then, merging with the morning banner, it was refined into a low-grade magical treasure Een Soul banner with 3 flags. This 3-flag Een Soul banner could accommodate 3 powerful ghostly beings without worrying about them devouring each other within the same banner. Song Wen summoned the Ghost King. The Ghost King was originally a ghostly being at the early 3rd stage but had been injured by Su Qian, leading to damage to its soul and a rupture in its ghostly form, severely reducing its strength. After 30 years of nurturing from the Su family, it had only reconstructed its soul and had not repaired its ghostly form. There was a crack on its ghostly form, preventing it from sustaining ghostly energy, leaving it with only the strength of a pseudo-3rd stage Song Wen planned to use the Firebird's sinister power, along with the abundant ghostly energy from the Een Soul banner, to help it repair its ghostly form and return to the realm of a 3rd stage Ghost King. Under Song Wen's control, the Firebird surged into the Ghost King's body, enveloping it in a chilling green flame filled with sinister energy. A large amount of ghostly energy surged from the 3-flag Een Soul banner and injected into the Ghost King's body, integrating into its dantian under the refinement of the green flames. The process of the Ghost King repairing its ghostly form was quite lengthy, and naturally, Song Wen couldn't remain idle. He took out a blood coffin, which contained the pseudo-3rd stage Corpse King. He intended to reforge the Corpse King, transforming it into a true 3rd stage silver corpse. A plethora of corpse path spiritual materials was dropped into the blood coffin. The dense corpse energy continuously surged and dissipated between the mouth and nose of the silver corpse. Months passed, and the silver corpse advanced to the 3rd stage. After some time, the Ghost King's ghostly form was restored, regaining the strength of an early 3rd stage. During this period, Song Wen began to cultivate the Evil Path Ghost Scroll, a secret technique of corpse cultivation he obtained from Wu Ren. This technique could condense the corpse energy within his body into various forms, usable for both offense and defense. Before achieving the Golden Core stage, he had a limited amount of corpse energy in his body, which was insufficient to cultivate this technique. Standing at the highest point of the island, Song Wen observed that after several months of recovery, the island no longer bore the signs of devastation. The Feiyun beasts had gradually become more robust after a period of rest and recovery. "I've been on this island for 40-some years. It's time to leave," Song Wen murmured as he gazed at the horizon over the sea. Although the months spent in quiet cultivation on the island were peaceful, they had consumed a considerable amount of spiritual materials, and the various materials on him were now few. The most consumed were the spirit stones. Whether for condensing the golden core, refining magical treasures, creating silver corpses, or repairing ghostly forms, all required a significant quantity of spirit stones. Currently, he only had over 300,000 low-grade spirit stones, more than 2,000 middle-grade spirit stones, and 5 high-grade spirit stones, totaling around 410,000 probably low-grade spirit stones. He still had plenty of corpse path spiritual materials, enough to sustain his cultivation for a long time. However, now that he was advancing to the golden core stage, he needed to supplement his stock with some third-stage corpse path materials to enhance his cultivation speed. The beast pills and meatballs required for the sacred goo had been completely exhausted. Even the silver stones, which the sacred goo didn't particularly like, had been consumed recently. They had been feeding on low-grade spirit stones, occasionally following the Feyun beasts to catch some sea creatures to satiate their hunger. The sacred goo had all advanced to the peak of the second stage about 10 days ago. Initially, the technique for the blood goo technique he obtained did not mention how to advance the sacred goo to the third stage. In fact, it was unclear whether anyone in the Tianyuan continent's cultivation world had ever cultivated a third-stage sacred goo. Song-Wen could only draw on the methods used by the Beastmaster sect to cultivate spiritual insects, seeking materials for the advancement of the sacred goo. However, this required finding materials to support their advancement. Song-Wen released the contract with the Feyun Beast King and granted the entire Feyun Beast clan their freedom. After dispersing the sacred goo, he soared into the sky, leaving the island where he had secluded himself for over 40 years, perhaps having consumed too many soul fragments in the past, and due to not having undergone the heart tribulation, his spiritual consciousness had been stuck at the peak of the foundation establishment stage, making it difficult to break through. After crossing the heart tribulation, his spiritual consciousness soared dramatically, directly surpassing the initial golden core stage and advancing to the mid-golden core stage. This allowed Song-Wen's spiritual consciousness to cover an area of 10 miles. As his cultivation advanced to the golden core stage, the amplifying effect of the sacred goo on his spiritual consciousness diminished, limiting it to double the range. However, even so, with the assistance of the sacred goo, his spiritual consciousness could still cover an area of 32 miles, already on par with peak golden core cultivators. Having encountered that giant sea fish previously left Song-Wen feeling apprehensive. Thus, he flew at an altitude of several hundred feet above the sea surface to avoid threats from the deep sea. In the high sky, clouds occasionally obscured his vision. To prevent any surprises, he released several sacred goo to scout through the mist. 2 days later, while Song-Wen was flying high above, a giant bird with a wingspan exceeding 200 feet suddenly burst from the clouds, diving rapidly toward the sea below. This was a late third-stage monster beast. Chapter 393. TLN. Fangzudo literally translates to Landlord's Island. So, I have decided to let it remain unchanged. Fortunately, all of the giant bird's attention was completely focused on a massive sea fish in the ocean below. As a result, the giant bird did not notice Song-Wen's presence. Letting out a long breath, Song-Wen also became aware of a problem. There were also deadly dangers lurking in the high sky. He lowered his flight altitude, maintaining a position about 80 to 90 miles above the sea surface. At this height, the view was excellent, allowing him to observe any disturbances both on the sea and in the sky. Having flown over the ocean for nearly 2 years, Song-Wen had crossed billions of miles. During this time, he had encountered predatory beasts several times, all of which he had avoided from a distance. He had also faced extreme weather conditions once, thunder and rain combined, with thick bolts of lightning striking down like towering pillars into the depths of the sea, stirring up massive waves. The sea winds howled, carrying cold and humidity, like countless blades that could easily tear through skin and stab deep into bone. It was like a hellish abyss, and the might of heaven and earth inspired endless fear and despair in the hearts of men. No one could withstand the terror of this natural disaster. Song-Wen had fortunately discovered a rocky island and dug out a cave in the depths to hide, escaping this calamity. As more islands appeared on the ocean, Song-Wen realized he had entered the inner sea of the chaotic ocean. The inner sea was the territory of the human race, and compared to the turbulent, beast-infested outer sea, it was much safer. Powerful beasts above the fourth stage were almost impossible to find here. One day Song-Wen suddenly noticed movement on a rocky island ahead. The rocky island was small, only about a mile in size, and was completely barren with no vegetation. From a distance, he could clearly see 3 figures on the rocky island. The 3 individuals on the island also noticed Song-Wen in the distant sky. However, they were too far away to sense Song-Wen's cultivation level, all of them looking warily at him. Although this place was already in the inner sea, It was close to the outer sea, where cultivators rarely ventured. A flying sword suddenly appeared beneath Songwen's feet, its aura restrained, revealing a cultivation level of late Foundation establishment as he flew toward the island. He had just sent a sacred goo to scout ahead, and it returned with news that all 3 individuals on the island were Foundation establishment cultivators. One was at the peak of Foundation establishment, one at late Foundation establishment, and one at mid-Foundation establishment. These 3 were the first batch of cultivators Songwen encountered in the chaotic ocean. He was keen to gather some information about the chaotic ocean from them. I am Wei Ding. Greetings to the 3 fellow Taoists. Even from several miles away, Songwen clasped his hands and spoke. Seeing that Songwen was only at the late Foundation establishment level, the 3 individuals relaxed their tense nerves a bit. Among the 3, the late Foundation establishment cultivator, dressed like a scholar, had a handsome face tinged with a hint of arrogance. Where do you cultivate? Why have you come to this remote edge of the inner sea? The scholar spoke with a tone that brooked no argument, evidently accustomed to being in a high position and used to issuing orders. Songwen replied, I'm just a loose cultivator, recently a bit low on resources, so I came to this remote place to seek opportunities. The scholar scoffed disdainfully, his voice cold. Humph! Seeking opportunities? You must be looking to rob someone on the way. Songwen put on a fearful expression, cupping his hands in apology. Dao brother, you've misunderstood me. My strength is lowly, and being alone, how could I dare to rob cultivators? Before Songwen could finish, he was forcibly interrupted by the scholar. All right, no need to say more. I have no interest in whether you are a robber or not. Since you say you've come to seek opportunities, I shall bestow you one. Songwen's face lit up with excitement. May I ask your name, young master, and what opportunity it is? Among the 3, the mid-Foundation establishment cultivator, lean and with rat-like features, stepped forward with an air of arrogance. This is young Master Xing Chong from the Xing family of Fangzudo. Songwen was taken aback. He had never heard of Fangzudo or the Xing family, however. This did not stop him from expressing surprise on his face. Ah, so young Master Xing hails from the Xing family. I truly am fortunate to meet young Master Xing here by chance. Your bearing is extraordinary, and it's clear you are a dragon among men. You will surely become a pillar of the Xing family in the future. Xing Chong nodded, unable to conceal his pride. Perhaps Songwen's flattery pleased him greatly, and he took the initiative to introduce the other 2. The Peak Foundation establishment cultivator was an old man. Xing Chong referred to the old man as Old Chi. The cunning, lean cultivator was named Yu De. After introducing the names of the 2, Xing Chong continued, We have come here to capture a peak 2nd-tier tide beast, intending to extract its soul and essence to refine a spirit pill. We originally had 4 people in our party, but we lost one along the way. However, setting up the 4 corners beast subduing formation requires 4 people. If you assist us in capturing the tide beast, I can offer you 5,000 spirit stones as a reward. Xing Chong, not knowing if he was overestimating his strength or just lacking sense, had no reservations about revealing their mission to Song. When upon their first meeting, Song, one was slightly surprised but maintained an expression of being flattered. Thank you, young Master Xing. He was quite interested in the spirit pill that Xing Chong mentioned. Since all 3 were Foundation establishment cultivators, the pill should presumably be a 2nd-tier one. Songwen had access to all 2nd-tier pill formulas in the Beastmaster sect, but he had never heard of the spirit pill. It was likely a unique type of pill from the chaotic ocean. Xing Chong said, Let me put this bluntly, capturing the tide beast is dangerous. If you hesitate halfway and cause the operation to fail, don't blame me for being ruthless. With a firm expression, Songwen replied, Young Master Xing, please rest assured. I will give my all and will not disappoint you. Xing Chong nodded in satisfaction, raising his hand to wave a small blue flag toward Songwen. This is the North Flag, one of the flags used in the 4 corners beast subduing formation. I will teach you how to control the flag shortly. When capturing the tide beast, you just need to focus on manipulating this flag. There's no need for you to get involved in anything else. Song Wen accepted the flag and replied, "I will follow young Master Xing's arrangements." Old Qi, who hadn't spoken at all, seemed quite displeased with Xing Chang's decision to include a stranger like Song, one in their team bound by Xing Chang's status. Or perhaps considering Song Wen's displayed cultivation level, which was only at late foundation establishment, Old Qi ultimately did not voice any objections. He merely scanned Song Wen several times with his gaze and spiritual sense. The four of them concealed their auras, hiding in the four corners of the rocky island. They had been waiting there for several days, according to Xing Chang. There was a cave on the rocky island that served as the Tide Beast's lair. When they arrived, the Tide Beast had just gone out, thus, the four of them hid in different places on the rocky island, waiting for the Tide Beast to walk into their trap. Suddenly, the calm sea surface began to surge with waves. A beast rose upright from the waves, standing on the crest and moving with the tide. The beast was about 10 feet tall, with a fish body and a serpent tail, but it also had 2 arms with 3 fingers each. This beast was the Tide Beast. As the waves approached the rocky island, they gradually calmed down. The Tide Beast leapt from the crest and landed on the edge of the rocky island. Its serpent tail swayed as the Tide Beast moved toward the island's center suddenly. It seemed to sense something and stopped. Its fish-like eyes, the size of walnuts, sparkled with alertness as it searched the island. "Activate the formation!" A loud shout suddenly rang out before the words had finished. A transparent half-spherical light dome illuminated and enveloped the entire island. The Tide Beast was trapped by the formation. It appeared extremely panicked and charged violently at the light screen of the formation with a loud bang. The light screen shook, and the Tide Beast was knocked back in pain from the impact against the formation's light screen. It revealed its vulnerabilities. The Tide Beast clenched its hands in the air, and 2 long water spears appeared in each hand with all its strength. It hurled the water spears. Bang, bang! The water spears collided with the light screen, producing a deep thudding sound. The spears transformed into droplets of water, scattering everywhere. The formation's light screen swayed, flickering between bright and dark, as if it were about to shatter. Chapter 394. "You all control your flags properly and help me subdue this beast." Old Qi shouted loudly. He was positioned at the east of the Four Corners Beast subduing formation, and the flag he controlled, the East flag, was the primary flag of the formation. The flag hung in front of Old Qi as he continuously formed hand seals, pouring his spiritual power into the flag within the formation. Flames burst forth. Countless flames, each the size of a palm, appeared out of thin air. The flames fell like raindrops. The Tide Beast raised its hand, summoning a massive flow of water, which twisted and coiled like a dragon above its head. The rain of fire fell upon the water dragon, splashing up numerous droplets. The flames extinguished upon contact with the water, generating large amounts of steam. Old Qi's thick spiritual power continuously flowed into the flag under his control. The fire rain cascaded down like a waterfall within the formation. In comparison, Song Wen and the other 3, controlling the west, south, and north flags, appeared much more relaxed. Their task was relatively simple. They just needed to stabilize their flags with spells to ensure the formation could operate continuously and steadily. The formation's offensive power was fierce, but the Tide Beast also displayed formidable strength. It summoned one stream of water after another, deftly dancing in the air to block the cascading rain of fire. The water streams and fire rain clashed violently in midair, producing sizzling sounds as steam rose, creating a hazy scene. Seeing that the formation was temporarily unable to harm it, the Tide Beast gradually regained its composure after its initial panic and fury. With its powerful water demon energy, the Tide Beast not only blocked the fire rain's attacks entirely, but also occasionally slammed against the formation's light barrier in an attempt to break free. After prolonged assault without success, Xing Chang appeared somewhat anxious. "Old Qi, why can't we subdue the Tide Beast after such a long time?" While controlling the formation, Old Qi replied, "Young master, the information was incorrect. The Tide Beast is not afraid of the fire techniques of the Four Corners Beast subduing formation." Xing Chong seemed inexperienced, lacking the ability to handle unexpected situations. Faced with unforeseen developments, his expression became flustered. "What should we do then?" Old Chi reassured him. "Young master, even if the tide beast breaks the formation, I can protect you completely." Upon hearing this, Xing Chang's expression eased a little. As time passed, the tide beast grew increasingly adept, manipulating numerous water streams that rampaged within the formation like wild dragons. The formation's light barrier flickered uncertainly under the tremendous impact of the water streams. Looking as if it might collapse at any moment, Old Chi's expression turned serious as he shouted loudly, "Young master, the tide beast is strong. The formation won't hold for much longer. When I shout retreat, you must escape immediately. Wei Ding, Yuda, you two are responsible for covering the young master's retreat. No matter what happens, you must ensure his safety. Absolutely do not let the tide beast harm him in the slightest." His voice was firm and resolute, revealing an undeniable authority. Looking at the tide beast's fierce appearance within the formation, Yuda narrowed his long eyes slightly. "Old Chi, don't worry. If anyone wants to harm the young master, they'll have to step over my dead body first." Song Wen also shouted, "I will do my utmost to protect young Master Xing's safety at all costs." Old Chi remained non-committal in response. After urging the formation once more to unleash another round of fire rain, he yelled, "Retreat!" Xing Chang's expression was frantic, like a startled bird, as he turned and fled in a panic. He fled so quickly that the south flag he controlled lost its stability, causing the formation to stop functioning in an instant. The formation's light barrier shattered like broken glass. Splintering into pieces, Xing Chong escaped rapidly, and Yuda was not far behind. This person who had been excessively flattering Xing Chong now wasted no time in fleeing as soon as Xing Chong took off, quickly, disappearing into the distant sky. As for his earlier declaration of swearing to protect Xing Chang's safety at all costs, it had already been cast aside. Old Chi and Song Wen, on the other hand, did not flee. They each summoned a flying sword to strike at the tide beast. Old Chi's flying sword was fierce and powerful, resembling a soaring dragon, swift as a shooting star. Song Wen's flying sword was considerably less impressive in comparison, however. Neither of their flying swords managed to injure the tide beast. As they approached, the tide beast unleashed a torrent of water to block them. It seemed the tide beast knew that Xing Chong was the leader of the group. It abandoned the closest Song Wen and Old Chi, rising on the waves as it pursued Xing Chong. Old Chi watched as the tide beast drew closer to Xing Chong, and Yuda fled, cursing under his breath. "Damn it!" He quickly urged his escape light and chased after the tide beast, not forgetting to command his flying sword to attack on the ocean. The tide beast had the advantage of the terrain, and Old Chi knew he was no match for it. He hoped his attacks would at least interfere with the tide beast's speed to buy some time for Xing Chong to escape. Watching the three flee, Song Wen couldn't help but sneer. These three had come in full force, setting up a formation. Yet, despite having no unforeseen incidents, they still couldn't subdue a single beast. If all the cultivators in the disorderly sea were such incompetent individuals, he could certainly thrive in that environment. Song Wen flew steadily, trailing behind Old Chi. Old Chi's expression was anxious as he continuously urged his flying sword to strike at the tide beast. However, the tide beast refused to engage with him, constantly manipulating the seawater to create walls of water that blocked Old Chi's flying swords. Xing Chong glanced back at the approaching tide beast, his face increasingly filled with panic and fear, lacking any semblance of the dignity expected of a late-stage Foundation establishment cultivator. The previous arrogance and pride had vanished, replaced by deep despair and urgency. He urged his flying sword desperately, trying to evade the tide beast's pursuit, but the tide beast followed closely like a malignant growth. Suddenly, Xing Chong heard a sharp whoosh behind him, causing him to panic. Without looking back, he immediately summoned a shield to protect himself. Bang! A thick water spear slammed violently against the shield. While the shield blocked the spear, the tremendous impact sent the shield flying backward, crashing hard against Xing Chang's back. Xing Chong spat out a mouthful of blood, his body unstable as he fell into the sea below. "Old Chi, save me!" In the face of danger, Xing Chang, like a naive child, thought not of how to save himself but instead called for help from his elder. Old Qi looked anxious. "Beast, do not harm the young master." As he spoke, he urged his flying sword once more, aiming at the tide beast. The tide beast raised its hand, causing the tumultuous seawater to surge upward, forming a thick wall of water several yards high behind it. Old Qi's flying sword again returned empty-handed. Chapter 395. As Xing Chang was about to meet his end at the hands of the tide beast, suddenly, in the high sky, the wind swirled and clouds gathered. A bolt of silver lightning struck down, aimed directly at the tide beast. It was Songwen in the back who made his move. He did not use the 9 great thunder secret techniques but instead employed the 6th-tier spell from the thunder cannon, the lightning strike. Songwen did not exert his full strength. The silver lightning was only as thick as his arm. The tide beast had focused its attention on defending against Old Qi behind it, and now faced with the sudden lightning strike from above, it appeared somewhat flustered. In a hurry, it summoned a stream of water to shield itself from above. Boom. The lightning struck the water, creating massive waves. However, the water not only failed to block the lightning but also served as a conduit for it. The lightning lost only a bit of its potency as it easily penetrated the water and continued its descent toward the tide beast. The tide beast was now in a state of panic and no longer pursued Xing Chang. It quickly formed an ice shield above its head while simultaneously moving sideways, trying to evade the lightning strike before the ice shield could fully take shape. The lightning was already upon it. The ice shield shattered with a resounding crash. The lightning struck the tide beast. Silver light flashed. To the tide beast's surprise, the lightning was all show. Despite its impressive appearance, it lacked substantial lethality. When the lightning hit it, it only made its appearance look a bit disheveled, causing no real harm. Old Qi was unaware of the tide beast's situation. Seeing Songwen step forward at a critical moment, saving Xing Chang with his lightning, he was momentarily elated. "Wei Ding, well done." He urged his flying sword to attack the tide beast, hoping to take advantage of its momentary injury and strike it down. However, as they exchanged blows, they quickly realized something was amiss. The tide beast showed no signs of having been hurt by this time. It was too late to retreat. On the ocean, the water element was abundant. The tide beast drew upon the ocean's power, its techniques gaining great strength as it summoned wave after wave of surging waters crashing toward Old Qi with overwhelming force. The air filled with torrents of rushing water, completely obscuring the figures of both man and beast. Old Qi could only fend off the attacks. He soon found himself surrounded by turbulent waves, struggling to defend himself. Songwen flew over and arrived beside Xing Chang. "Young Master Xing, are you all right?" Songwen asked with a concerned expression. Xing Chang, still shaken, replied, "Wei Ding, I didn't expect you to be adept with lightning techniques. Thank you for saving me. When we return to Fangzhou, I will definitely reward you." Songwen looked embarrassed and said, "I should thank you for your reward, but unfortunately my talent for lightning techniques is too low. My lightning is weak and could not severely injure the tide beast." Xing Chang glanced at the battle between Old Qi and the tide beast, his expression growing anxious. "Old Qi won't lose, will he?" he thought uneasily. After hesitating for a moment, Xing Chang turned to Songwen and said, "Wei Ding, you stay here to support Old Qi. I'm not skilled in combat, so I'll retreat first to avoid dragging you and Old Qi down." With that, he stepped onto his flying sword and transformed into a streak of light, flying toward the distant horizon. Watching Xing Chang's retreating figure, Songwen couldn't help but smirk. Old Qi risked everything to save Xing Chang. As Xing Chang saw Old Qi fall into a disadvantageous position, trapped in a dire situation, he immediately turned to flee. He was truly a coward, afraid of death, weak-willed, and ungrateful. "Don't worry, I and Old Qi will definitely slay the tide beast. And then we'll reunite with you," Songwen shouted loudly. "If you can help Old Qi kill the tide beast, I will definitely reward you generously," Xing Chang called out without turning back. After flying several miles, Xing Chang's spiritual awareness could no longer cover the battlefield where Old Qi and the tide beast were fighting. Then Songwen shouted out, "Old Qi, I'm coming to help you." With lightning flashing in his hands, he rushed toward the tide beast. Before Songwen even arrived, a sacred goo quietly flew out from his body, using the 2 palm-sized bolts of lightning to mask his aura. The sacred goo charged into the torrents of water around them. Soon after, Songwen also plunged into the watery veil. Moments later, his voice pierced through the water curtain, ringing out into the sky, "Old Qi, be careful. His voice was so loud that even Xing Chang, who had already fled 30 miles away, heard it clearly. Xing Chang's face changed dramatically. He urged his escape light with all his might, frantically fleeing in panic in the blink of an eye. His figure vanished into the vast sky, leaving no trace. Half a day later, Songwon, breathless and disheveled, wobbled on his flying sword and arrived above an island. It seemed as though he was severely injured as his sword suddenly went out of control. Songwon plummeted from the air, crashing heavily onto a beach. Blood spilled from his mouth, staining the sand red. Suddenly, a voice rang out, "TSK, TSK, you suddenly appeared halfway through and joined the demon-slaying team. I thought you were some tough character, but it turns out you're just a brainless fool. You actually fought the Tide Beast just to protect that waste." Xing Chang. The speaker was Yuda, who had stealthily escaped when the situation turned dire. Looking down with a mocking grin, he towered over the injured Songwon. In Yuda's grasp was Xing Chang himself. When Xing Chang had flown to this small island, he believed he was far away from the Tide Beast and decided to take a short rest to recover his spiritual energy while waiting for Old Chi's return. Little did he know Yuda had arrived here first, hiding in the shadows. When Xing Chang landed on the small island and let his guard down, Yuda launched a surprise attack. It had to be said that Xing Chang was truly useless. He was ambushed and captured by Yuda, who was at a lower cultivation level. Seeing Songwon, Xing Chang's eyes flashed with hope as he hurriedly asked, "Wei Ding, where's Old Chi?" Songwon was gasping for breath, struggling to speak. The Tide Beast was too powerful, Old Chi, and I couldn't match it. Old Chi has already been killed by the Tide Beast. However, he managed to deal a heavy blow to the Tide Beast before he died, giving me the chance to escape. Upon hearing this, Xing Chang's expression darkened. Old Chi's death meant he had lost his only lifeline. Yuda casually tossed Xing Chang over to where Songwon was. He laughed loudly, "Ha ha, heaven is helping me. With Old Chi dead, who else can come to rescue you, you useless brat?" Xing Chang replied, "You can't kill me. I am a member of the Xing family. My father is the head of the Xing family, Xing Gaohan. In my sea of consciousness, there's a soul mark planted by a golden core elder. If you kill me, this soul mark will transfer to you and you will face endless pursuit from the Xing family." Yuda snorted, his tone dripping with disdain. "You're just one of the mediocre children of Xing Gaohan, thinking of yourself as someone important. It's laughable if you were really that significant. How could you be out here without even a single golden core guard? If it weren't for the concern over the soul mark on you, I would have killed you long ago. You wouldn't still be alive today. I don't dare to kill you, but I can still borrow a knife to kill someone." Chapter 396. Xing Chang's face was ashen. He knelt on the ground, pleading desperately, "Yuda, I beg you, for the sake of the years we've spent together as master and servant, don't kill me." Yuda sneered coldly, "Master and servant? When did we ever have such a bond? I was just a dog under your command. You called me whenever you needed me and dismissed me without a second thought. When did you ever show me a shred of respect?" Xing Chang insisted, "You're just a low-level rogue cultivator of humble status and mediocre talent. It was out of pity that I let you stay by my side and even provided you with foundation, building pills, and various spiritual materials. If it weren't for that, with your abilities and status, how could you possibly cultivate?" Yuda shot back, "I've served you for 20 or 30 years. I've long since repaid that debt. Yuda, I beg you not to kill me. I can give you everything you want: spiritual stones, spiritual treasures, materials, pills, cultivation techniques. Everything the Xing family gave me, I can give to you. Just please don't kill me." Xing Chang crawled to Yuda's feet. Pleading pitifully, Yuda kicked Xing Chang away. How could he let Xing Chang go? After spending over 20 years by Xing Chang's side, he understood the other's true nature all too well. Xing Chang was a self-important, ultimately mediocre, narrow-minded person. When the Tide Beast broke through the four directions demon suppression array and Yuda abandoned Xing Chang to flee, Yuda had already lost his chance for retreat. Allowing Xing Chang to return alive would only lead to endless pursuit, given his vengeful nature. "I can open my sea of consciousness and let you plant the soul-locking curse on me, so I will forever obey you. Please don't kill me, don't kill me. I don't want to die. Mother, where are you? Please come save your child." Xing Chang continued to plead, and before long, he was sobbing uncontrollably. Snot and tears streamed down his face, covering him completely. The pretending injured Songwon glanced at Xing Chang, surprise lurking in the depths of his eyes. Xing Chang was actually this pathetic. Could someone at the late stage of foundation building behave this way? What he had previously said to Xingqiang was half true, half false. Old Qi had indeed died at the hands of the Tide Beast, but the Tide Beast had also died at Song Wen's hands. Song Wen had performed a soul search on Old Qi in Old Qi's memories. He had obtained a considerable amount of useful information. Firstly, Song Wen gained a general understanding of the distribution of the cultivation forces in the Chaotic Sea. The 5 largest cultivation forces in the Chaotic Sea are 3 families and 2 sects. The 3 families are the Xing family, the Jing family, and the Chui family. The 2 sects are the Erqi sect and Wuji Island. Among them, the Chui family and Wuji Island are part of the demonic forces, while the other 3 are righteous sects. The righteous and demonic forces in the Chaotic Sea are not as antagonistic as those on the Tianyuan continent. Instead, they maintain close relations. This is because both the righteous and demonic factions of the human race share a common enemy, the demon race. In the waters of the Chaotic Sea, the demon race frequently invades the inner sea, slaughtering cultivators and mortals while seizing resources and living space, especially among the avian demons. They cannot always remain in the sky, they must eventually land. However, the outer sea has few islands, and the islands rich in spiritual energy are even scarcer. Severely limiting the breeding of avian demon beasts, they desperately hope to invade the inner sea and occupy more islands. Under the pressure of the demon beasts, the 5 major forces, along with other cultivation factions in the Chaotic Sea and many rogue cultivators, formed the Star Sea Alliance to resist the demon race. Secondly, Song Wen learned about Xingqiang himself. Second, Song Wen learned about Xingqiang as a person. Xingqiang came from an extraordinary background and had decent talent. Being of the 7th grade spirit root, even in the talented Xing family, he wasn't a rare genius, but he was definitely among the elite. Xingqiang's biological mother, Shanyu, was one of his father Xing Gahan's many concubines. Shanyu was beautiful, possessing a grace that could close the moon and shatter flowers, but unfortunately, as a mortal, she lacked the backing of a powerful family and thus was not favored by Xing Gaohan. After Xingqiang was discovered to have a 7th grade spirit root, Shanyu held high hopes for him, wishing for her son to achieve great things in the Xing family and become a dragon among men, relying on her son's success. With her status as his mother, she would naturally rise in the Xing family. However, Shanyu was originally just a prominent young lady among mortals. Once, by chance, she caught the eye of Xing Gaohan and was brought back to the Xing family. She had not experienced the cruelty of the cultivation world and had a shallow understanding. The ways of the cultured families of mortals, while good for raising Xingqiang, ultimately led him down the wrong path. Under the support of the vast resources of the Xing family, Xingqiang's cultivation advanced rapidly. By the time he was not yet 40, he had reached the late stage of foundational building, but having grown up under Shan Yu's care, his character was extremely weak and immature. As for Old Qi, he was the personal bodyguard assigned to Xingqiang by the Xing family, deeply intertwined with him. If Xingqiang died, Old Qi would not live long either. That was why Old Qi was willing to risk his life to protect Xingqiang. Third, Song Wen knew about Xingqiang's purpose in hunting the Tide Beast and the use of the Earth Spirit Pill. The Xing family had a secret technique called Focused Spirit Stab, which was an exclusive secret method of the Xing family. Focused Spirit Stab is a type of mental attack technique. It condenses a cultivator's spiritual awareness into an invisible blade to attack the opponent's sea of consciousness. Practicing Focused Spirit Stab requires the Earth Spirit Pill to cooperate in order to unlock its potential. The flesh and soul of the Tide Beast are the main ingredients for refining the Earth Spirit Pill. However, Tide Beasts are extremely rare, and most live in the outer sea, making them hard to find. Xingqiang couldn't afford to hire golden core cultivators and dared not deeply venture into the outer sea to search for Tide Beasts. He scoured for information about the Tide Beast and finally found out that there was one at the edge of the inner sea. Thus, this self-important man disregarded Old Qi's warnings and insisted on coming to hunt the Tide Beast. Song Wen was quite tempted by Focused Spirit Stab. Focused Spirit Stab is divided into 3 levels, corresponding to the foundational building, golden core, and nascent soul realms. Xingqiang did not have the secret technique for Focused Spirit Stab in hand. Going out to hunt the Tide Beast and bringing it back to the Xing family to refine the Earth Spirit Pill was a trial for the family members. Only those who completed the trial could receive the first level of the secret technique. Thus, Song Wen effectively followed the spiritual imprint he had previously left on Xingqiang and traced it all the way. He feigned severe injury to approach Xingqiang, plotting for the future. As for Yuda's appearance, it was beyond Song Wen's expectations. However, it conveniently provided him with the opportunity to gain Xingqiang's trust. Yuda, Xingqiang is the precious son of the Xing family. If Xingqiang is willing to let you plant the soul-locking curse, so he will be forever obedient to you, then spare his life. This way, you can gain continuous benefits from him. If you kill Xingqiang and seize his storage ring, it would be akin to draining the pond to catch fish, Song Wen said. Yuda stared at Song Wen, coldly saying, "Foolish! You think a mere soul-locking curse can control a descendant of the Xing family? You underestimate the Xing family too much. Once the soul-locking curse is discovered by the Xing family, do you think they would care about the life or death of a foundational building clansman? They would track the caster of the curse through the soul-locking spell and directly eliminate me. Wei Ding, I'm giving you a chance. Kill Xingqiang, and I can let you leave alive." Song Wen replied, "Yuda, you think you can deceive me to cover up the crime of harming Xingqiang? How could you let me live?" Yuda said, "You're quite smart, but unfortunately your vision is poor for choosing to follow such a waste as Xingqiang." Chapter 397. Seeing that Song Wen was not swayed by Yuda, Xingqiang looked at Song Wen with gratitude. As long as Song Wen did not kill him and Yuda dared not act personally, he still had a glimmer of hope. Yuda cast a condescending glance at the two on the sandy ground, watching Song Wen and Xingqiang. "Young Master Xing, don't think that because Wei Ding won't kill you, I can't do anything about it. At worst, I'll waste some effort and find a second-tier demon beast's lair. As long as I toss you into the demon beast's den, your death will naturally have nothing to do with me." With that, Yuda started to laugh triumphantly. The glimmer of hope that had just appeared in Xingqiang's heart instantly vanished into thin air. "Wei Ding, since you are unwilling to kill Xingqiang, then you can die right now," Yuda erupted, suddenly brandishing a long sword, aiming to stab Song Wen. Song Wen felt that he had initially gained Xingqiang's trust, and it was time to kill Yuda. Suddenly, Yuda felt a piercing pain shoot through his foot. He was stunned and looked at his foot, and just in that fleeting moment, a cold gleam shot out. That cold gleam was as fast as lightning, incredibly swift. Yuda, caught completely off guard, had no time to react before the cold gleam pierced through his chest. He stood rigidly, as if struck by lightning. Yuda covered his chest with a pained expression, his face gradually turning pale. Blood began to seep from his fingers as he pressed against his chest, but this blood was not the usual bright red. It was as thick and black as ink. Yuda's eyes widened, trembling as he pointed a shaky hand at Song Wen, disbelief and shock written all over his face. You, bang! Yuda collapsed, his eyes wide open, slowly losing their luster. He died with his eyes wide open. The sudden turn of events left Xingqiang momentarily stunned, mouth slightly agape, unsure of what to do. Cough, cough. Song Wen coughed a few times, as if the movement had exacerbated his internal injuries, coughing up a large amount of blood. He lay weakly on the ground, a black box slipping from his hand. The box had a tiny pinhole, and the cold gleam that had just pierced Yuda's chest had shot out from this pinhole. This box was a hidden mechanism, and the needle it shot out was laced with potent poison. Song Wen couldn't even remember where he had obtained this hidden mechanism from a cultivator. The needle fired from the box was not very powerful and could be easily blocked. Song Wen had used the sacred goo hidden in the sand to attack Yuda's feet, distracting him, which allowed the needle to hit naturally. Xingqiang was unaware of this. He did not perceive the existence of the sacred goo. He assumed that Song Wen had ambushed Yuda with the hidden mechanism and killed him. After a moment of daze, a look of surprise at escaping death appeared in Xingqiang's eyes. Wei Ding, you killed you. Duh. Song Wen lay on the ground, extremely weak, and said, Yes, young Master Xing. Xingqiang was overjoyed, unable to restrain himself from shouting, Good, good, good. Young Master Xing, lower your voice. We are both injured. If we attract other cultivators or demon beasts, it will be difficult for us to deal with it, Songwen cautioned. Xing Chang immediately quieted down and asked in a low voice, Wei Ding, what should we do next? Songwen replied, first, we need to hide Yu Da's body to prevent anyone from discovering it, then we should find a secluded place to recover our injuries. Xing Chang said, that makes sense. Songwen's eyes flashed with disdain. Xing Chang truly was a good-for-nothing, lacking any intelligence. Young Master Xing, since you still have the ability to move, store Yu Da's body in your storage ring. Then help me into the depths of the island to find a suitable place to recover. Half a month later, Xing Chang's injuries had healed. Songwen feigned his own injuries and also recovered accordingly. The two set off for the Fangzudo. The Fangzudo were the main stronghold of the Xing family, covering a vast area of over 100,000 miles. Although the Xing family had many members, they could not occupy such a vast island entirely. There were numerous loose cultivators on the island, and even in some remote places, there were mortals living there. The Fangzudo were far away, and it took the two several months of flight to finally arrive. They came to Fang City on the Fangzudo, the largest city on the islands and the one with the highest concentration of cultivators. The Xing family's base was located in Fang City. The Xing family had many members, with hundreds of thousands of cultivators alone, and their demand for cultivation resources was immense. This attracted many wandering cultivators to come, relying on the Xing family's large tree to seek a place to survive and cultivate. Over time, Fang City became a massive marketplace. Fang City was divided into northern and southern sections. The northern city was the base of the Xing family. Surrounded by tall city walls and fortified with restrictions, without permission from the Xing family, outsiders were prohibited from entering. The southern city, named Southern District, had no tall walls and resembled a vast marketplace instead. Songwen and Xing Chang were still a few miles away from the southern city when they saw a beautiful woman standing in midair, eagerly looking forward. Her face was as lovely as the autumn moon, her skin whiter than snow, her nose was high, and her lips were rosy. Her pair of phoenix eyes were long and slightly upturned, with faint crow's feet at the corners that resembled ripples in autumn water, adding to her unique charm as a mature woman. Her hair was styled high, revealing a long and graceful neck. She wore a long dress in deep purple adorned with intricate floral patterns, the hem of which fluttered gently in the wind like a fairy gliding on the waves. Around her waist was a golden belt that perfectly accentuated her graceful figure. This woman was Xing Chang's mother, Shan Yu. Her talent was not particularly remarkable, and even with the immense resources provided by the Xing family over 40 years of cultivation, she had only reached the initial stage of foundation building. This was already a significant achievement for an ordinary person, but in the eyes of a cultivation family like the Xing family, it seemed somewhat mediocre. Behind Shan Yu stood two Qi refining stage maidservants, and the three stood on a flying boat. Her brows were slightly furrowed, and her phoenix eyes revealed anxiety and worry. This hint of sadness added a touch of delicate beauty to her, evoking sympathy and attracting countless wandering male cultivators to glance her way. Mother, Xing Chang called out from a distance. Upon hearing his voice, Shan Yu's phoenix eyes shimmered with tears. Tinged with joy, she hurriedly urged the flying boat to approach Xing Chang. Chang'er. Shan Yu grasped Xing Chang's outstretched hands, her voice trembling with excitement and laced with a hint of a sob. Before arriving at Fang City, Xing Chang had already used a messaging jade slip to notify Shan Yu, informing her of his safe return. With her son away on an adventure and not returning for a long time, Shan Yu had been anxious and worried. After receiving news of her son, she was eager to see him and could not wait to come and wait outside the city. She held Xing Chang, examining him from head to toe, and after confirming that he bore no injuries, she finally felt relieved. Just come back safely. She gazed at Xing Chang's face, her eyes filled with affection. In her eyes, Xing Chang was not a late-stage foundation cultivator but just a scholar in disguise, a scholar with no ability to harm even a chicken. Chapter 398. Perhaps it was because they were in such a public place. Shan Yu's indulgence made Xing Chang feel a bit uncomfortable. He shook off his mother's hand and spoke. Old Qi is dead. Shan Yu showed no signs of grief or sorrow over old Qi's death. What a pity, he was only over 100 years old. If he hadn't died, he could have served you for another 100 years. Her tone was filled with nonchalance and indifference, as if a well-behaved, somewhat useful dog had simply passed away. If old Qi could know from beyond the grave, who knows what he would think? Of course, he could not know from beyond, as his soul had been devoured by Songwon and his body was burned to ashes, scattered into the sea. Mother, I'd like to introduce someone to you. Thanks to him during this experience, he has saved me twice from peril. If it weren't for him, you might never see me again. As Xing Chang spoke, he brought Shan Yu before Songwon. After Xing Chang introduced them, Songwon bowed respectfully. Greetings, Madam Xing. On Shan Yu's exceptionally beautiful face, a forced smile appeared. This smile was so strained and false, it seemed to have been dragged out, revealing an air of aloofness that pushed others away, like a noble emperor casually dispensing charity to a lowly commoner. Thank you for saving my son in his time of danger. Looking at the smile on Shan Yu's face, Songwon was momentarily taken aback, as if he were deeply struck by her beauty. After a moment, he regained his composure, his demeanor slightly flustered and anxious. Madam Xing, you flatter me. I am merely a wandering cultivator. How could I possibly deserve your gratitude? Shan Yu responded, Oh? So, Friend Wei is actually a wandering cultivator. I wonder if you would be willing to join the Xing family? My son's guards have just encountered misfortune and we urgently need a trustworthy person to fill this gap. The power struggles within major cultivation families are 100-fold more dangerous than the royal power struggles of mortals. Once embroiled, a slight misstep could lead to a dire situation from which there is no return. Songwon was unwilling to get involved in the Xing family's internal power struggles. Even though he had designs on the focused spirit stab, he could not do so. Songwon hesitated, conflicted for a long time before finally saying, Thank you, Madam Xing, for your kind offer, but I have become accustomed to my freedom and may find it hard to adapt to the rules and restrictions of the Xing family. I hope you can understand. Faced with Songwen's refusal, Shan Yu showed no disappointment. Though Songwen had saved her son's life, she did not trust him. She replied, Since Friend Wei is unwilling, I won't press you. Should you wish to join the Xing family someday, feel free to find me at any time. After Xing Chang exchanged messaging jade slips with Songwen, he and Shan Yu bid farewell and headed toward the northern city. Watching the backs of the two as they departed, Songwen's expression darkened. He had saved Xing Chang twice, and this mother-son duo had only offered a few light words of gratitude without any actual expression of appreciation. It truly was a case of being used and then discarded like a donkey after the millstone was taken off. However, Shan Yu was indeed a rare beauty. No wonder she had caught the eye of the nascent soul realm cultivator Xing Gaohan, who brought her from the mortal world to the Xing family. Among all the women Songwen had seen, only Yan Yuyan and Lan Qin could match her in beauty. Songwen flew to the southern city. Inside the southern city, there were many cultivators bustling with people coming and going, creating a lively atmosphere. After wandering through the main streets of the southern city, he found a secluded spot, changed his appearance, and entered a grocery store. This grocery store existed based on the memories he had of old Qi. The shop was small but sold a wide variety of items: pills, spiritual tools, techniques, secret arts. Everything a cultivator might need could be found in this store. The shopkeeper was a middle-aged male cultivator at the early foundation building stage. Seeing Songwen enter, the shopkeeper greeted him enthusiastically. Friend, what would you like to buy? Songwen asked. Do you have any maps for sale? Of course we do. Which map are you looking for? The Fangzudo or the sea areas? Songwen replied. I need both the Fangzudo and the sea maps. The broader and more detailed, the better. As soon as he said this, the shopkeeper's face lit up with joy. He knew he had encountered a generous big customer. Friend, I have detailed topographical maps of the Fangzudo and sea charts, including the entire inner seas islands and power distribution maps. However, the price is slightly high. I wonder if you can afford it. How much spirit stone? 10,000 spirit stones. The shopkeeper quoted a rather high price. Aside from maps of certain secret realms, regular maps are of little use to cultivators. Moreover, since cultivators can fly, drawing maps is quite easy for them, which makes maps appear relatively cheap in the cultivation world. Songwen frowned slightly but did not bargain with the shopkeeper. I'd like to verify the maps first, if possible. Of course. The shopkeeper handed Songwen a jade slip. Songwen took the jade slip and used his spiritual sense to explore its contents. Inside the jade slip was a map of the area around Fangzhou City, drawn with extreme detail, marking peaks, rivers, plains, depressions, and underground rivers. Songwon said, "The map is very detailed, but the price is a bit steep. How about 5,000 spirit stones?" The shopkeeper showed no hesitation and handed another jade slip to Songwon. "Deal!" After inspecting the jade slip and confirming it contained the topographical map of the Fangzudo and the sea map, Songwon paid the shopkeeper 5,000 spirit stones. "Friend, do you need anything else?" the shopkeeper asked. "Do you have any recipes for sale?" Songwon inquired. "Of course we have recipes. What type are you looking for?" The shopkeeper replied. "As long as they are second and third tier recipes, I'll take them." Upon reaching the chaotic sea, Songwon needed ways to earn spirit stones. Undoubtedly, becoming a pill master was his best option at the moment. The environment of the chaotic sea is vastly different from that of the Tianyuan continent, resulting in unique spiritual herbs. Thus, some recipes are also slightly different in the Tianyuan continent. High-tier recipes and spiritual medicines are tightly controlled by major cultivation factions, making it nearly impossible for wandering cultivators to access these precious resources. In this regard, the chaotic sea is different. As long as one has enough spirit stones, commonly used second and third tier recipes and spiritual medicines can be directly purchased. The shopkeeper handed Songwon a jade slip and said, "I have the recipes here. Take a look and choose." Songwon took the jade slip and began to examine it with his spiritual sense. The jade slip recorded 25 types of recipes, mostly second tier, with only 2 third-tier recipes. The recipes were not complete, providing only names and brief descriptions of their medicinal effects. Songwon selected 4 second-tier recipes and 2 third-tier recipes. The 4 second-tier recipes included 5 spirit pill for enhancing cultivation, recovery pill for healing, detoxification pill for purging poison, and body refinement pill used by body cultivators. The reason Songwon chose these 4 second-tier recipes was that he found, aside from these, the other second-tier recipes were consistent with those on the Tianyuan continent, only differing in the names of the medicines and spiritual herbs, which held no value for him. The 2 third-tier recipes were the Golden Jade Pill and the Chi Spirit Pill. The former is a medicinal pill needed for gold-tier cultivators to improve their cultivation. The latter is a medicinal pill for restoring a cultivator's spiritual sense. These 6 recipes were not expensive, costing Songwon a total of 10,000 spirit stones. Chapter 399. Friend, may I ask if your esteemed shop has any detailed information regarding the Xing family? Songwon lowered his voice and asked. Upon hearing this, the shopkeeper's expression stiffened and his eyes fixated on Songwon with a hint of wariness. Anyone daring to inquire about the Xing family's information in Fang City was surely no good. Songwon also held his breath, concentrating intently on the shopkeeper. The magic power within him stirred restlessly, ready to strike with thunderous force should the shopkeeper show any unusual behavior. In the entire shop, it was only the two of them. Songwon was confident he could eliminate the shopkeeper without being detected. At that moment, his appearance and aura were disguised. If he had to kill, he could easily leave the city, change his appearance, and return to Fang City. The atmosphere in the shop suddenly grew tense, as if the air itself had solidified. After a long silence, the shopkeeper finally spoke. "Friend, you have quite the audacity to seek information on the Xing family. I don't have detailed intelligence, only some commonly known information." As he spoke, the shopkeeper tossed a jade slip to Songwon. Songwon caught the jade slip without looking at it and asked, "How much spirit stone?" The shopkeeper shook his head. "No spirit stones needed. Consider it a gift to you. Please leave my shop quickly. I will pretend you were never here. In the future, I kindly ask you not to visit my shop again." "Thank you," Songwon replied before turning to leave. After exiting the small shop, Songwon headed straight for the city's outskirts. The southern city lacked walls, so Songwon chose a random direction and left the city. He wandered through the dense forest outside the city for 1,000 miles, ensuring no one was following him before he resumed his appearance as Wei Ding and returned to the southern city. Songwon arrived at a grand building within the city. This was the place where the Xing family rented out caves. Surrounding Fang City were numerous mountains rich in spiritual energy. The most abundant spiritual energy mountains were occupied by the Xing family as their family territory. For the remaining mountains, the Xing family had opened many caves, leasing them to external cultivators for a substantial amount of spirit stones. These caves were divided into 4 grades. A, B, C, and D minus after weighing his options. Songwon rented a grade B cave at the price of 6,000 spirit stones. The cave was located about 30 miles southwest of the southern city, situated within a high mountain. It lay on the shady side of the peak, nestled between steep cliffs halfway up the mountain in a serene environment. Holding the cave's token, Songwon opened the cave's restrictions and entered. The cave was not large, roughly the size of 2 acres. Inside was quite empty, the walls bare, with nothing within. The spiritual energy in the cave was relatively rich, comparable to the cave he had at the Beastmaster sect. Songwon arranged the gathering spirit array, 9 palaces in array, concealing spirit formation, and yin-yang 4 symbols formation from inside to outside within the cave. Then he took out a meditation cushion, sat cross-legged on it, and pulled out the recipes he had purchased, beginning to study them carefully. After a thorough examination, Songwon discovered that the 6 recipes involved some spiritual herbs he had previously never heard of. However, most of the spiritual herbs were the same as those on the Tianyuan continent, just with different names. Next, he began to research the information about the Xing family that he had obtained from the shopkeeper. This information did not pertain to the Xing family's secrets but was public knowledge. According to the information, the Xing family had 3 nascent soul realm cultivators, one in the early, one in the middle, and one in the late stage. Xing Chang's father, Xing Gaohan, is the highest-ranking cultivator in the Xing family. At the late nascent soul realm, Xing Gaohan is known for either practicing dual cultivation techniques or having a fondness for both men and women, as he has over 1,000 concubines compared to the large number of his concubines. He has relatively few children, totaling just over 100. However, he only has 3 legitimate sons and daughters. Aside from the 3 sons still in infancy, the remaining 2 are exceptionally talented individuals. The eldest son is named Xingli Run, who is already over 300 years old and at the late golden core stage. According to rumors, he is just 1 step away from reaching the peak of the golden core stage. The second daughter is named Xing Xinxin, about 20 years old, and at the peak of the foundation establishment stage. After carefully reading through the information on the Xing family, Songwon lightly crushed the jade slip in his hand, turning it to powder that scattered in all directions. Songwon left the cave and headed to the southern district of Fang City. He wandered between various shops, replenishing the spiritual herbs he was lacking. He easily gathered all the herbs needed for the 4 types of second-tier pills. However, he was still missing 1 or 2 tier 3 spiritual herbs for the Golden Jade Pill and Chi Spirit Pill. The Golden Jade Pill was missing its main ingredient, Golden Spirit Seed. The Chi Spirit Pill was missing Profound Spirit Root and Life Reversing Pearl. Unable to find these herbs in the shops, Songwon went to a marketplace for scattered cultivators to try his luck. At these stalls, Songwon didn't find the required herbs but noticed many scattered cultivators openly selling demonic spiritual materials. Although the Xing family was not a demonic force, there was no deep-seated enmity between the demonic and righteous paths in the chaotic sea. Rather, they maintained close ties. Therefore, it was not surprising to see some demonic cultivators appearing in Fang City. Perhaps due to the large number of low-tier cultivators setting up stalls, the demonic materials for sale were primarily Tier 1, with very few Tier 2 materials available for someone like Songwon, who had already reached the Golden Core realm. These low-tier materials naturally didn't catch his eye. Songwon squatted in front of one stall and picked up a medium-quality item from the Ghost Dao, asking, "Where did you get this?" The item had slight damage, clearly a second-hand item. The stall owner was a young man in his 20s. When he sensed Songwon's unfathomable aura, he immediately became nervous. "Senior, I acquired this from the Dark Star Black Market at a low price and planned to sell it in the marketplace for a profit. I definitely didn't steal it. If the previous owner of this item has any connection with you, I can take you to the black market to find the seller." The stall owner clearly misunderstood Songwon's identity, thinking that the original owner of the Ghost Dao item had some past with Songwon and assumed he was here for revenge. Black market. Songwon's eyes lit up. Where's the Dark Star Black Market? What kinds of spiritual items do they mainly sell? Upon hearing this, the stall owner's tense heart relaxed. Since Songwon didn't even know about the black market, he was clearly not here for revenge. It seemed he was new to Fang City and didn't understand the local situation. Merely inquiring for information, the stall owner replied, "The Dark Star Black Market is located 600 miles east of Fong City at the foot of a high mountain. They have all sorts of spiritual herbs and pills, as well as techniques from both righteous and demonic paths. There are also many items of dubious origin." Songwon nodded, dropped 10 spirit stones, and turned to leave. While at the stalls, he also noticed something else. Perhaps due to the abundance of beasts in the chaotic sea, many scattered cultivators were selling the corpses, blood, and souls of beasts at quite low prices. Most of the corpses being sold at the stalls were of Tier 1 beasts, with Tier 2 beasts being quite rare. Just as Songwon was about to head to the Dark Star Black Market, he received a message from Xingqiang. "Wei Ding, where are you? If you have time, come to Wind Listening Pavilion for a chat." Looking at the message on the jade slip, Songwon's lips curled into a smile. He couldn't discard the bait that was Xingqiang just yet, as Xingqiang was currently the only person he knew from the Xing family. Young Master Xing's invitation cannot be ignored. "Please wait a moment. I will be there shortly." Songwon sent back the message. Chapter 400. 15 minutes later, Songwon arrived at Wind Listening Pavilion. Wind Listening Pavilion is a place specially designed for cultivators to communicate. It has both private rooms and courtyards. The private rooms are mainly used for cultivators to discuss private matters, providing protection against eavesdropping. Xingqiang chose to meet Songwon here because he didn't want the fact that Songwon had saved him to be leaked. If that were to happen, it would harm his reputation as a member of the Xing family. In one of the private rooms, Songwon met with Xingqiang. Xingqiang had come alone. "Wei Ding, my family has prohibited me from going out these past few days. Today, I was just allowed to leave, so I came to see you." After inviting Songwon to take a seat, Xingqiang continued, "I didn't know why young Master Xing sought me out." Songwon asked. Xingqiang replied, "It's nothing important. I just wanted to express my gratitude for saving my life. I promised to reward you back then, and today I am here to fulfill that promise." Saying this, he threw a storage bag to Songwon. Seeing the self-satisfied look on Xingqiang's face, Songwon assumed the storage bag contained something valuable. However, after using his spiritual sense to examine the bag, Songwon couldn't help but twitch his lips slightly. Inside the storage bag were only 100 medium-quality spirit stones. He had saved this person twice, yet he only received 100 medium-quality spirit stones. Did Xingqiang think his life was worthless? Or was he unaware of the value of things, not knowing the worth of 100 medium-quality spirit stones? Or perhaps Xingqiang was so used to being proud that he couldn't help but act superior? "Thank you, young Master Xing, for your generous gift," Songwon said with a cupped fist. Xingqiang waved his hand, saying, "Just a few spirit stones, not worth mentioning." Songwon was taken aback. A few spirit stones, not worth mentioning. He could have given a little more. Xingqiang continued, "Have you settled down in Fong City?" "I've rented a cave dwelling," Songwon replied vaguely, not revealing the exact location of his dwelling. Xingqiang nodded. "That's good. In the future, there will be matters I can't handle personally, and I may have to rely on you. Don't worry. You will be rewarded well for assisting me." Songwon replied, "Thank you for your consideration, young Master Xing." Xingqiang nodded, clasped his hands behind his back, and left the private room, watching Xingqiang's departing figure. Songwon understood one thing. The reason he offered 100 medium-quality spirit stones was likely not out of gratitude, but to keep Songwon hanging so that he would continue to assist him in the future. That night, wearing an iron mask, Songwon arrived at the Dark Star Black Market. The Dark Star Black Market is located at the foot of a high mountain cliff and covers a large area, bustling with people. If it weren't for the fact that the black market only opened at night, Songwon would suspect it was an ordinary marketplace, not a black market. The open and conspicuous nature of the black market indicated one thing. It had a strong backing and didn't need to hide anything. Most of the people coming and going in the black market wore masks or cloaks, concealing their identities and appearances. Songwon entered a spirit herb shop called 100 Herbs Pavilion, the largest spirit herb shop in the black market. "Welcome, What spirit herbs would you like to buy? Seeing Songwon enter, a young shop assistant stepped forward to ask. Songwon looked around the shop. The variety of spirit herbs on display was dazzling, but there were few third-tier herbs available. He asked the assistant, "Do you have golden spirit seed, profound spirit root, or life-reversing pearl? Are you a refining master?" The assistant countered. Instead of answering, Songwon frowned and replied in a deep voice, "Is it difficult for your shop to sell things without probing into the customer's background?" The assistant hurriedly explained, "Senior, please don't misunderstand. The spirit herbs you require are all third-tier herbs and rare among them. They rarely appear in the market, and our shop doesn't have them either. Several years ago, my young lady issued a bounty. She has an ancient incomplete formula, and if you can complete the formula, our shop will certainly provide the spirit herbs you seek." Hearing this, Songwon shook his head and turned to leave. Completing an ancient incomplete formula is not an easy task. Moreover, even if luck was on his side and he happened to complete the formula, a few spirit herbs from 100 Herbs Pavilion would hardly meet his needs. He was refining golden jade pill and chi spirit pill for sale to earn spirit stones. A small amount of golden spirit seed, profound spirit root, and life-reversing pearl were of little use to him. Seeing Songwon about to leave, the assistant seemed to have determined that Songwon was a high-level refining master and hurriedly spoke up. "Wait a moment, senior. If you are dissatisfied with the reward, the young lady specifically instructed that we could also offer Xianin stone and sand crystal as compensation. I won't take up too much of your time. You just need to take a look at the incomplete formula and think it over when you have time. If one day you gain some insight, our shop will surely honor our promise." Songwon paused and turned to look at the assistant. Xianin stone and sand crystal were indeed items he urgently needed. The former was essential for refining third-tier silver corpses. With more Xianin stone, he could refine more powerful third-tier silver corpses and also enhance the strength of his existing silver corpses. Sand crystal, on the other hand, was a crystal formed from the concentrated aura of corpse energy, containing a large amount of pure corpse chi, making it the best supplement for corpse cultivators at the gold core stage. That 100 Herbs Pavilion could offer Xianin stone and sand crystal as rewards indicated that the shop had a strong background, or that the young lady mentioned by the assistant had a significant demonic influence. Ordinary demonic cultivators wouldn't be able to produce Xianin stone and sand crystal. Seeing that Songwon had stopped, the assistant's face lit up with joy as he quickly took out a piece of yellowed paper. The paper in his hand was not an ancient formula but rather a rubbing. The ancient formula was severely incomplete, involving more than 30 kinds of spirit materials, with 10 missing, meaning nearly a third was lost. The chances of completing it were slim to none. The product refined from this formula was not a medicinal pill but rather a potion used for tempering the physical body, specifically designed for corpse cultivators. With just a quick glance, Songwon immediately recognized this incomplete formula because he had seen the complete version. This was the recipe for Corpse Curse Water from the Corpse King Rebirth technique, used for tempering the physical body. To fully unleash the power of Corpse Curse Water, it must be combined with the Corpse King Rebirth technique. Songwon couldn't help but feel surprised. How did the recipe for Corpse Curse Water end up in the Chaotic Sea? Could it be that someone from the Nether Shrine brought it to the Chaotic Sea? Since someone had obtained the recipe for Corpse Curse Water, did they also possess the techniques of the Corpse King Rebirth technique? Was the incomplete recipe truly an attempt to complete it, or was it a ploy to draw out someone who held the complete technique?